And that just blows my mind that you can spend $125 and play something at 144 hertz. Hey, what's up everybody? So I just want to add a little note before we get into this. I'm going to try to start uploading weekly. That's something that I always wanted to try. Just to kind of challenge myself, see if I can make something that's decent. A lot of these videos are almost embarrassing when I look at them. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But anyways, I think it'll be fun either way. So we'll see exactly what kind of things I'll do. Obviously I want to build a lot of budget PCs because that's what I'm into. I love finding the deals, and I like seeing kind of crappy computers turn into something that's usable. So look for that. If you're interested, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you're interested in or things you want to see. If you want me to do super budget builds, or I'm planning some other stuff like sleepers or some things that are a little more expensive that should be fun. But yeah, so as I've mentioned before, I love a good deal. Like, there's nothing that compares to the satisfaction of finding a great deal on something and having it work just as well as if you had bought the thing brand new. So that's just, I love it. I love deal hunting, and that's kind of brought me into finding used computer parts and putting them together to build something that's usable for me at a lower price than I would be able to at the store, or buying new parts and putting it together. There is some fun in doing that also, but I don't know. That's just something that I really like to do. So today I want to put together a computer that is, I think, a great deal. And it's one of the easiest deals to find. Like, a lot of times, like, you find that one in a million deal where it's like somebody's getting rid of all their stuff and they're practically giving it away. This is a little different. I feel like this is a deal that you can find more commonly. Maybe not every day. You might have to wait a couple weeks to find the parts. But this is something that I've been able to replicate multiple times in the last few months. And so I feel like it's something that people are going to be able to replicate also. So let's get into what this build is. Now, there's a lot of people that have done very similar videos to this. And it's the Dell Optiplex, or an office computer build. So the thing that's really cool about this is that, like, you can find these computers all over the place, because a lot of the times businesses will be upgrading computers and be selling the older ones, and those older computers are still usable. They might be a few years old, but you can still play most games with these computers as long as you're willing to do the upgrades. So we're going to use a GTX 1050 Ti, and this card is awesome because you don't need a power supply for it. I mean, you do need a power supply, but you don't need external power from your power supply. It's able to draw all the power it needs from the motherboard. And so what that means is that as long as you have a good enough power supply, you can just plug it in and you've practically built your computer already. So for what we have today, I have a Dell Optiplex 320. It came with 8 gigs of RAM, a 128 gig SSD, an i5 40, I think it's a 4590. And then we're going to add a GTX 1050 Ti to it and see what it can do. And I think you'll be surprised, like I was saying before, I think you'll be surprised about how good of a value this is. I personally purchased my Optiplex for $55, and then I bought the GTX 1050 Ti for $70. So that combined is $125, and you'll see in certain games you're able to get over 144 frames per second. That being said, you can buy a budget 144 hertz monitor and be able to play a lot of esports titles at a competitive frame rate. So if that's what you're looking for, this is like a perfect build for you. A few of the things to note about this are, it's not all perfect. As good as the value is for one of these computers, there are some drawbacks to it. First off, typically computers like this, pre-built office computers, have a lot of proprietary parts. So sometimes the motherboard is specifically made for the Dell Optiplex, and it doesn't even fit like an ATX form factor, meaning that you can't even physically put it into a normal case. A lot of the time, the form factor will be similar, but the issue comes with things like power buttons and connecting power switches, that kind of thing. A lot of that is proprietary also, and that just means that it's going to be harder to be able to transplant this computer into a case that's nice. So if you're not into the aesthetic of a Dell Optiplex or another office computer, then you're kind of out of luck there. Another con is that there's not really a great upgrade path for a lot of these pre-built systems. Typically the motherboard isn't the greatest, so it doesn't support overclockable CPUs. Another weird thing about a lot of office computers is the power supply connector on the motherboard. For example, the ones that I have, the Optiplex that I have currently, I think it has like an 8-pin connector for the power supply instead of your typical 24-pin. And so if you're wanting to upgrade the power supply, you got to buy adapters and other things of that nature. And so it just makes it a little inconvenient to do that. If you have a little more money and you want something that doesn't need adapters and whatnot, then you can look at other platforms. But for what this is and the price point that you can find these things at, I still feel like it's really good value. Especially if you're going to be able to hit 144 frames per second in esports titles. For like 120 bucks, 150 bucks, I feel like this is a steal, honestly. If you're just wanting to play games, play them competitively at high frame rates, this is an option. And that just blows my mind, that you can spend $125 and play something at 144 hertz. I don't know about you, but I think that's awesome. I feel like it's a deal. I feel like it's a steal of a deal. Another great thing about it is it's probably the easiest computer that you'll ever build. So let's get into building the computer. Okay, so this doesn't look it's not the best shot, but I'm doing the best I can. So we'll see. Hopefully you guys can see everything. So this is just the side of the Dell Optiplex, and we're going to show you how easy it is to build it. So we got our GPU and our Optiplex. So essentially, I'm going to set this down. So it looks like we might have to turn this over. There we go. Okay, so we have our Dell Optiplex, and this is literally how easy it is to build this computer. I mean, you're not really building it, but you get what I mean. So there's 2 thumb screws on the side, and it's toolless, so you can just unscrew them, and then you slide the side panel off. And then from there, you can see the inside of the computer. We have our power supply, we have our CPU, CPU cooler and fans, we have our RAM, and then the SSD. So this came with a different SSD, but we're going to use this one for the purpose of testing stuff. So we have this. Essentially, you just need to find an open SATA cable. You'll plug in your drive. Oh, let's see, is that right? No, that's wrong. Plug in the power to the drive. And if you want, there's some screw holes. If you want, there's some screw holes on the side of this where you can kind of attach the drive more, but because it's an SSD and this computer's not going to be moving around a lot, I'm not going to screw it in. I'll be switching stuff out soon. So, then we get our graphics card, our nice GTX 1050 Ti, and we'll take this, pop this out, so you just press in. Most of these are toolless and some of them will be a little different. I'll put this down. So you just press this button, and this comes out. This is the button, and then you'll have these 2 covers that you'll want to take out. And then we can go ahead and just plug in the graphics card. Snap it in place, and then this holds the GPU in place also. So you just snap this back in also, and it's nice and tight there. And you've built a computer. You can put the side panel back up. Screw these back on. And you're done. So if you have any issues, or if you're nervous at all about buying all the parts and putting them together, this might be a good place to start also, just with Adult Optiplex, because of the simplicity of it. There's a lot of little things you don't have to worry about. It's already kind of set up for you. So that's one of the positives there. So let's go ahead and plug this thing in, get it set up, and we'll test out some games. Now the first game that we're going to test out is Overwatch. And with this, to be honest, I thought that I'd be able to play on medium settings and be able to hit 144 FPS. But we came in a little short, so I had to lower the settings to low. But you should still be able to increase the settings a little bit, tweak them to your liking, and still hit 144 FPS. So looking at the chart we have here, we can see that Overwatch hit 160 FPS on average, and then had a 1% low of 87. Now, moving on to Fortnite. Fortnite was an interesting game because for some reason the 1% lows are pretty low, and there was some noticeable stuttering. It wasn't enough to ruin the game, I would say, but it was noticeable every so often. So that's something I would have to look into a little bit more. So for Fortnite, we had an average of 143 FPS, and then a 1% low of 19 FPS. So the settings that we were using on Fortnite are what you would call pro settings, so epic view distance, and then low on everything else. Now moving on to CSGO, we had all the settings set to medium, and we were able to hit pretty high frame rates, and pretty consistently as well. Also, don't judge me too hard for my CSGO skills. I don't play this game a lot, but I know it's popular, so I thought I'd include it. For the exact numbers, you can see that we hit 226 FPS on average, and then had a 1% low of 125 FPS. So as you guys watch this last clip, I just want to go back to what I said a little bit before. Going back over some of the stuff that I said before, I realized how much I made this sound like it's like a replacement for your professional gaming PC. I mean, I didn't say that, but I feel like I kind of got that vibe, or started putting that vibe across. I don't feel like this is a computer that would replace, by any means, something that a professional gamer might use. But if you're a very casual gamer like me, and you want to get into 144 Hertz, this is possible when you lower the settings. So I just think it's good to keep your options open, and be aware of stuff like this. If this is all you need, if you don't need the craziest looking graphics, and you're okay putting things on lower and medium settings, then this can be an option. And so I just wanted to address that. That being said, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Make sure to comment and subscribe, especially if you've stayed this long. It probably means something. Maybe you're interested in this. Like I said at the beginning, I'm going to be putting out videos once a week if I can. So be on the lookout for that. And if you leave a comment, maybe that might turn into a video or something. You never know. Anyways, thanks again, and we'll see you later.